ed major. I'm also going to hopefully get my master's in special education. So, look, mention here. I'm here because I have Asperger's syndrome. I learned about it in, I think it was February of 8th grade, so maybe 2010? Can I believe? Yeah, 10. About 2010.
Yeah. Cool. How has your mental illness affected your life, man?
It's been hard. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with many things. I was diagnosed with bipolar, ADHD, OCD. Then that I was in middle school, and a bunch of stuff happened there. I probably could get to that later, but basically I had a lot of mood swings at that time, and finally my parents took me to, I think it was the Providence Hospital, can't remember where, but I was there for a week, and by the end they said, oh yeah, he's none of these. He has Asperger's syndrome. He's basically on the autism spectrum, yeah.
Wow.
And when all of a sudden everything made sense, it's like, wait a minute. Uh-huh. Puzzle. Everything kind of fit together, making sense.
Yeah. I bet that was really hard to have the wrong diagnosis and then...
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't much involved in that time when I was younger. My parents kind of just tried to keep it on the down low for me. Like, they kept it in the background knowing about it, but I knew that I was going to the counselor for a reason, I just didn't know why. Yeah.
So I bet that really affects your relationship with other people. Like, how does that...
Yeah, I am very hard in social situations. One of the things, my mom actually read something online and sent it to me through Facebook. A lot of people think that Asperger's syndrome is hard to find empathy, but my mom found an article about it saying maybe we observe too much empathy, just like how we observe too much senses. Because with me, like when I was out there, I could hear the hum of the fluorescents. I can hear tube TVs sometimes while they hum. Really anything is basically more stimulating to me. Like, I smell more, I sometimes see a lot, focus in on a lot of more detail than other people. I definitely feel a lot of things differently than other people. Yeah, a whole bunch of different things. I just sense it differently. And it's just one of those things where it's hard for me to... The empathy part, I guess, is hard for me because I don't understand, like, small social cues, like, well, here's an example. When I was in 7th grade, throughout my entire childhood, I was very oblivious to a lot of things. Like, I didn't understand why this is this or that is that. I just didn't understand. So what the most embarrassing by far, now that I look at it, it's hilarious. It's, well, not hilarious, but it's like, I can't believe I said that. But I was in 7th grade, and we were watching, it was like a social studies, and we were studying Africa, and she points to a country, and she says, what's the name of this country? And I said, the N-word, not knowing it was what it was. I thought I was just pronouncing it normally. I thought Nigeria was a certain other thing, and I'm like, why is everyone laughing? I thought I pronounced it right. Nope. And the teacher was like, oh, he probably just doesn't know about that word. And I'm like, what's going on? So yeah, through all my life, it's just like, I don't understand. I don't get that. I don't get that.
Yeah, that was really hard.
Yeah. Like, and I don't understand some social aspects of like society in general. I've noticed, like after the Clackamas Community College shootings, I decided to carry a knife I won at an outdoorsman event, but my mom's like, okay, that might not be very big, but that looks big, Kyler. And I just didn't understand it because I'm just wearing this on my hip. I didn't put the pieces together. I didn't think of how other people would perceive me with this knife on my hip. I just didn't put it together.
Yeah. You kind of talked about how it felt, physically, but how emotionally does it feel to have Asperger's?
It's hard, but I've kind of come to embrace it. It's one of the things that I've kind of had a motto for it: embrace your quirkiness. That's literally a model I've had for a long time now. One of the hard things, though, is that if there's too much going on, really stressful, the other day when I was in the halls, there was a reason I couldn't be there inside the room because the smells was way too strong. It was way too hot. I was feeling that overstimulating, and then all the people talking at once, it was just overwhelming, and I just had to step out because it was just too much was going on. Yeah.
It was really hot. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
But one of the things I've come to learn is that when I get stressed, I tend to kind of shut down. My brain shuts down, and I just have to step out of the classroom, and I just call my mom, tell her I don't know what to do. I'm just completely stressed out. It's happened a couple times. One time was at a Woodstock thing over in the Grove. I had dropped my phone in my wallet, and I was freaking out. I was hitting trees. I was on the phone with my mom, my dad, just saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And by the time my dad picks me up, I'm a wreck. A guy had come over and found my wallet, and I already had found my phone. But still, even after that, I was a mess because I was like, I don't know what to do. It was just this small thing that you probably wouldn't even think would be a big deal, but it was like having to decide whether to send nuclear missiles to a country to me. It's like, do I press the button or not? It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just over emotionally in some things. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you said you step out. You talk to your mom as part of your coping.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you do coping wise?
Actually, one of the things on campus wise, there's a ASD support group that I try to go to. I haven't been able to go to this term, but it's one of those things where it's like I get to meet people, get to discuss what's going on. We play games, do different activities throughout the term and the year. And that's just something. And
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm thinking about setting something up with like that actually for other mental illnesses as well. So do you find, like you said, do you find that helpful?
Oh yeah. Yeah, to know that other people are having the same troubles as you and figuring out strategies. We share our strategies at some point, saying, oh, this never worked for me, or that sometimes works, but this not. And we just tell each other what works and what doesn't, and kind of try it at home and see if it helps. So yeah, it's really helped to know that you're not the only one, kind of.
Yeah. That's really cool. How does your Asperger's affect your relationships with other people?
It's hard, definitely. I don't really get very close to people. I'm very much a loner, a lot. I have a couple friends, but it's my friend Aaron, who goes to Corbin, I've had since kindergarten. I've known him since kindergarten, and it's you're my only real friend, I guess. I really don't have very much other people in my life other than him, maybe a couple people I know at my church, my family. maybe a couple people around campus, but not that much around campus.
Yeah. Do you feel just the stigma against your mental illness just in general? Stigma, like, oh, like people, do they just jump and judge you? Do you feel like that?
I don't know. I've been very open about it, and people have actually resented me because I've been so open about it, saying, why are you happy you have Asperger's syndrome? There was this girl in my high school, I remember, and apparently she resented the fact that I was so open about it. And I had always gotten this weird vibe out of her, and her mom met my mom at this event and said, oh yeah, Faith was so angry that you could be so open about it. Why would you be so open about it? It didn't make sense to her.
Yeah. Why do you think you can be so open about it? Like, when did you kind of accept it?
When I learned that even though things are harder, I see the world differently. And that's a good thing. Like, I see things people don't. Like, let me think of something.
It's okay.
But yeah, basically I can, while other people may see a lot more social things, I see things very literally. Like in my math classes, if there's something very direct, I get it automatically, when it takes some people like days just to figure it out. It's those things where it's like, okay, I may not be good at this, but this I'm amazing at. Like, I can focus in on this, saying this equals that, and so on. I'm really good at following steps.
Mm-hmm.
So even though some things are hard, I've come to embrace the fact that, okay, even though it's hard, there's still good things that come along with this.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you gotta do, like, say, okay, this is hard, but how can I make lemons out of lemonade, lemonade out of lemons kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Was there any like turning point in that for you, or did it just come naturally? I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know when it happened. I think when I got out of the hospital, I really don't know if there was like a definitive moment where I embraced it, kind of. But my mom was always shocked at how much of a happy child I was, even though I had been bullied almost every day. My mom was like, I don't know how my son gets bullied every day, wakes up the next morning with the biggest smile on his face. I don't know how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just in my nature to see the best in things almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like to see the bright side of something, I guess?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What do you want like other people to know about your like Asperger's? Like, what would you wish that they just knew?
I don't know. I guess just because I have something that makes me different doesn't make it anything bad. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're going with that. What advice would you give to someone else with Asperger's?
Apparently, I actually learned this when I was in at the SOAR on before my freshman year. I went to this guy called the Love Doctor. It was an event over in the gym, and I said, what would you say to people with Asperger's syndrome like me who just have a hard time even talking to people? And he said, well, congratulations to you, because only 10% of people even admit it. But he's basically said, just tell people, if I don't notice something immediately, don't take it as an insult like I'm ignoring you. I probably actually did listen to you, but I have other attentions also. Like, I see the world around me, and hear you. It's not that I'm not paying attention to you, it's the fact that I'm taking in so many different things. I may not be looking at you, but I did hear you. Like on the school bus, I would be able to pinpoint out different conversations. I would just sit in my seat, and I could literally, almost like a radio in my head, I could tune into different conversations. Like it would be everything, and then I could go here, there. Just something I was like, oh, neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just something like, yeah, don't be afraid of it. It may be hard at some times, but yeah, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, a lot of people really take it negatively. And I think that's really sad because a lot of people think, oh, I have Asperger's syndrome. That means I'm limited. No, it means you can see more than people. Like, that may be one thing, but you can understand things that other people can't. It's just something that my mom has also told me about this. Like, hey, you are different, but that is not a bad thing. It's one of the things she's always tried to bury in my head, kind of.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you want other people to, like, that all people should know about Asperger's, like, and just like maybe approaching you, or just feeling like you just wish they knew, just make your life easier, I guess.
Maybe that like I said before, even if it doesn't seem like I'm paying attention to you, I really am, because I am just taking in a whole bunch of different information at one time. Just, yeah, you're just one part of my entire world I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure if I already asked this or not, but like, how does your mental illness like affect your life? I kind of think we went over that, but is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I do have to find like different coping mechanisms
Yeah.
at different times, like with the stress, sometimes overboil. So I figured out that just by calling my mom,
Mm-hmm.
it relieves such a big burden. I go out of the classroom, half an hour later, I'm really emotionally exhausted, but I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just finding my own different strategies for things. It's hard, but once I figure things out, it's like, oh my gosh, this totally works. This is so much better.
Yeah. So talking about it really helps?
Yeah, talking to people about my stress levels, like with my mom. One of the great things about her is she pushes me to try to push out information. Like, what are you talking about? It's one of the perks of having a psychologist as a mom. So yeah, she tries to understand me and try to figure out, okay, this doesn't make complete sense, but let's try to figure out what you're trying to say. Because that's one of the things that even with my brother, who he doesn't have Asperger's, but it's one of those family things where all the men are very introverted, and it's my mom has learned that she basically has to guess at what we're trying to explain, because sometimes we don't explain it very well. And so it's just this thing where it's like, do you mean this? And we go like, maybe. But yeah, eventually it's like, there we go. That was it.
Yeah. So do you think patience is a big virtue as well?
Oh, yes. Be patient with me. I may not understand things immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was as courageous as I am now, I wouldn't be standing here. I would have jumped out the window. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I hadn't been more like courageous at that time. So it's kind of like this thing where it's like, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
But yeah, at that melting point in February 2010, it was just, everything was going to hell, really. Hell in a handbasket. I don't even remember much of it. Like, I remember one time that I had a seizure and not remembering that, but there's only some things that I remember about being that different. Like, I wasn't the same person. I was angry, and all that stuff that had built up inside of me, every angry moment had come out in one giant burst, and I was a different person at that point. People talk about hitting rock bottom. That was my rock bottom. I didn't know what to do. I just didn't. And honestly, part of going to the hospital even made it worse, because I was in this minor child psychiatric ward, and I saw things like scratched into the walls, and I was legitimately scared of where am I? Like, I know I'm getting help here, but this is really scary. And towards the end, I had felt better, but yeah, at the end of it, it was just like I was exhausted. Even talking about it now, I'm getting exhausted talking about it, because it was just such a crazy time in my life. And honestly, even when I went back to school, public school, like, once they took me out of Talmadge Middle School, honestly, the stuff that went on in Talmadge when I was at school, it was just intolerable. The amount of kids that were getting bullied in Talmadge. I don't know if it's gotten better or not, but apparently my parents talked to people and everyone had the same experience. Like, every kid who was bullied wasn't getting any help. I don't think, like, the whole Stop Bullying campaign had gotten as much traction as it has in recent years, but yeah, once I went back to school, my parents enrolled me in Kings Valley Charter School out in the Dean Toolies, back in the middle of nowhere. I started in 8th grade. I was still getting picked on, but not as bad as in Talmadge. But one day I snapped and I said, knock it off. 10th grade, never happened again. So the fact that I even talked to him to stop doing some of the things he did made him stop. And honestly, I don't really know why he did it or any of that. I mean, apparently he does that. It was kind of part of his social skills. He actually had Aspergers too, but he was a lot more quiet about it. That's actually another thing. Kings Valley was apparently filled with Aspies, and I didn't even know it. But yeah, it's just some of those things where it's like, stand up, because honestly, when you show that you are not afraid of them and standing up and make yourself look larger almost, I was shocked. And my parents, every day I would come home and say, oh my gosh, it's been 3 days since he's picked on me. It's been 4 days, it's been 5 days, it's a week, it's a month. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, it worked. Just by saying, just stop it, kind of 3 words, it's like, wow, so much better. I was a lot less stressed. It was just one of those things where I was just like, I can put that part of my life to the side. It's one of the things where it's like, wow, stress free.
Yeah, that's awesome. what advice would you give to someone else with Asperger's? Like, not everyone's as comfortable with it as you are.
Right.
But what do you wish you would have known earlier?
I wish I had known that some of the things that made me different didn't make me a bad person, because that was one of the things I had always talked to my mom about. Like, there has to be something wrong with me. There has to be something wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with having Asperger's syndrome. You may not want to tell anyone about it, but just know that even though some of it is, yes, negative, there are struggles with Asperger's syndrome, but there are so much good things about it. Just think of this way. Several of the greatest geniuses have been suspected of having Asperger's. Like Albert Einstein, actually Bill Gates is confirmed to have it. Where pretty much, even though he was never diagnosed, pretty much 100% Nikola Tesla was, Thomas Edison was probably. But one thing we know about it is that all these geniuses are horrible in social situations. There's the smartest minds in history can't wrap their minds around people. Just think of it that way. It may be super hard, but think of all the things you can do.
Do you feel like being open about your Asperger's syndrome like really helped you, or maybe helped other people?
Very much so, because I've seen a lot of people be very negative when they haven't kind of embraced the fact that there are good things that come with it. I've seen a lot of people that are very negative, a lot lower kind of in the happiness. It's like there's a happiness scale, it's really a lot lower. My friend Andrew, he was open about it, and he was the most amazing guy you'll ever meet. Like, wow, he's different, but he knows he's different, and he's so much more positive about life than a lot of other people. There's a couple other people that's like, you're happy, but you can tell it when you know someone has Asperger's syndrome and you look at their personality and compare it to someone who is open about it. It's not black and white, but it's pretty close. It's like Andrew and I, we were so much more positive about life, but there was two people, the girl I talked about and the bully guy. It's just like, she is not as negative, but he's a little more. It's like you're a whole new person, and life is almost looking almost better because you're seeing the world in a different view, instead of being, I'm different and things just are so much more harder for me. I will never be able to do this, do that, do this, do that. There was a TED Talk, and this guy said, people told my mother that I would never be able to do this, I would never be able to do that. He isn't just doing that, he has PhD, he surpassed everything these counselor people said he would be able to do because his mother pushed him. And saying it's not, it makes you different in their struggles, but that doesn't make things impossible. A lot of people think that any type of mental illness will make certain things impossible. Like my uncle, he has bipolar, but he is the most amazing composer you'll ever meet. He has recitals here on campus with some of the music and English professors. He plays organ at several different churches. It's like he may have his moments. I may have my moments, but in the end, we're just a little different. There's not much we can't do just because we have this label. Like, I will use this label, but not as like a label saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can. It's not.
Does it define you?
Yeah, it doesn't define, well, it does define you. That's the thing, it does define you, but not in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
You're different, but it's not negative. Don't think of it as a negative thing. Think of it as positive. Like, you see the world differently.
Cool. That's awesome, man. But
Understand that because I am doing things differently, like, if I'm not paying attention to you, know that. Or if it doesn't seem like I am, I probably am. It's just, I'm taking in everything. Like, I perceive so much more than the average person. And that's one of the things, it's one of those struggles where if too much comes in, it's like a core meltdown. But just know that just because it doesn't seem like it, I am listening.